Captain Jack Morgan felt a knot in his stomach as he stared at the massive Galactic Council station through the main window of his ship. The station looked like a giant metal flower floating in space, with long docking arms stretching out like petals. His ship, the Defiant, was heading toward one of those arms now. "Docking procedures starting, Captain," said his pilot, Ben. Jack nodded. "Take us in slow. Let's not give them any reason to be suspicious." The Defiant was officially listed as a mining vessel in all Galactic Council records. Its hull was painted with the logo of Earth Mining Corporation, and its cargo holds were filled with equipment that could indeed mine asteroids. But hidden beneath that ordinary exterior was a ship with power that pushed right up against what humans were allowed to build. 50 years ago, humans had joined the Galactic Council after fighting off an attack by the Kreth, a lizard-like alien race that had expected an easy victory. The humans' unexpectedly strong defense had scared many Council species. As a result, when Earth joined the Council, they were forced to sign the Treaty of Sol. The treaty had many rules, but one stood out. Humans could not build warships above Class 3 specifications. This meant no ships bigger than 300 meters, no weapons stronger than medium-range lasers, and no advanced shielding systems. The Council said this was normal for new species. Jack knew that was a lie. "Council Inspector requesting permission to board, Captain," reported Lisa, the communications officer. "Permission granted," Jack said, straightening his uniform. "Let's give Inspector Turan the usual tour." Jack walked to the docking bay, rehearsing in his mind the official story about their mission. They were heading to the Arcturus system for a routine mining operation. Nothing unusual. Nothing that would make the Council suspicious. The airlock hissed open, revealing Inspector Turan. He was a Volari, a species with blue skin, 4 arms, and eyes that could see in spectrums humans couldn't. This made him perfect for his job, finding things humans try to hide. "Captain Morgan," Turan said with a slight bow. "Another year, another inspection." Jack forced a smile. "Always a pleasure, Inspector. Would you like to start with the engine room or the cargo hold this time?" "The weapons systems, I think," Turan said, his eyes narrowing slightly. "I've heard reports that Earth Mining Corporation has been upgrading their defensive capabilities." Jack kept his face neutral even as his heart beat faster. "Standard upgrades only, I assure you. We've had some trouble with pirates in the outer systems." "Of course," Turan said, not sounding convinced. "Lead the way." As they walked through the corridors of the Defiant, Jack greeted his crew with nods. Everyone knew to be on their best behavior. The ship had been carefully prepared for inspection, with certain systems locked down and others disguised. "These are our main defensive arrays," Jack explained as they entered the weapons control room. The displays showed standard rail cannons and point defense systems, all technically legal, but pushing every definition to its limit. Turan ran his scanning device over the consoles. "Impressive output for defensive weapons," he commented. "Mining in deep space is dangerous work," Jack replied evenly. After 4 hours of detailed inspection, they reached the engine room. Chief Engineer Marcus was waiting, his hands clean, but his uniform showing signs of recent work. "Inspector," Marcus nodded. "Everything is running at standard capacity." Turan moved around the engine room slowly, running his scanner over various components. He paused at the main power core. "This output reading seems high for a mining vessel," he said, looking at Jack with suspicious eyes. Jack had rehearsed for this moment. "We're carrying extra equipment for the Arcturus operation. The power requirements are higher than usual." Turan made a note in his device, but didn't argue further. After completing his inspection, he returned to the airlock with Jack. "Your ship passes inspection, Captain," Turan said formally. "Though I admit I'm curious why a mining vessel needs so much capability." Jack maintained his professional smile. "The frontier of space is full of surprises, Inspector. We like to be prepared." "Indeed," Turan replied. The Council appreciates Earth's continued compliance with the treaty. Safe travels to Arcturus. After Torin left, Jack returned to the bridge, letting out a long breath. Status report, he ordered. Inspector's shuttle is returning to the station, Lisa reported. No indication they detected anything unusual. Good, Jack said, dropping into his captain's chair. Set course for Arcturus as soon as we're clear of the station. His second-in-command, Maya, approached with a datapad. The real mission brief, sir, she said quietly, handing it to him. Jack looked at the classified information. What the Council didn't know, what they could never know until it was too late, was that the Arcturus mining operation was actually the location of humanity's secret shipyard. Hidden inside a hollowed-out asteroid, Earth's engineers were building something the treaty explicitly forbade. Warships that would make the Defiant look like a toy. Project Threshold, they called it. 12 ships, each nearly a kilometer long, with weapons that could tear through the strongest known shields. Ships that could defend Earth if, when, the Council failed them. How much longer until the first ship is ready? Jack asked Maya. 3 months, she replied. The Vindicator will be the first, followed by the others at 2-week intervals. Jack nodded, looking at the stars through the viewport. Humanity had spent 50 years playing by the Council's rules, pretending to be the obedient newcomers. But they had also spent 50 years preparing for the day those rules would no longer protect them. Let's hope we have those 3 months, he said quietly. As the Defiant pulled away from the Council station, Jack thought about the true nature of their mission. They weren't just transporting supplies to Arcturus. They were carrying key components that couldn't be manufactured at the secret shipyard, the final pieces needed to bring the Vindicator to life. Every instinct told him they were running out of time. Intelligence reports showed increased Kreth activity near human space. The Council patrols that were supposed to protect new members were increasingly distant. Captain, Lisa called out, "We're receiving a priority message from Admiral Wilson." Jack tensed. "Put it through to my quarters." In the privacy of his room, Jack opened the encrypted message. Admiral Kate Wilson's face appeared, her expression grim. "Captain Morgan, we've detected Kreth scout ships near Neptune. The Council claims it's a routine survey mission, but our analysts disagree. Proceed to Arcturus with all speed. Project Threshold may need to be activated sooner than we planned." Jack closed the message, feeling the weight of what was coming. The treaty's shadow had hung over humanity for 50 years. Soon, they would step into the light, and the galaxy would remember why the Kreth invasion of Earth had been the shortest in their history. 3 days. That's how long it had taken humans to drive back an advanced alien fleet with technology centuries behind their attackers. The Council hadn't restricted humans because they were dangerous. They had restricted humans because they feared how dangerous they might become. They were about to find out. 3 months after Captain Jack's meeting with Inspector Torin, alarms screamed through Earth's orbital command center. Red lights flashed on walls as officers ran to their stations. In the center of the room, a large holographic display showed the solar system. Near Neptune, dozens of red dots appeared. Admiral Kate Wilson strode into the command center, her face tight with worry. Officers snapped to attention as she entered. "Report," she ordered, her eyes fixed on the display. Colonel James Reed stepped forward. "Kreth ships, Admiral. A full battle fleet just came out of faster-than-light travel near Neptune. They're heading toward the outer colonies." Kate's stomach turned cold. This was what Earth had feared for 50 years. "Where is the nearest Council patrol?" James hesitated before answering. "They say their closest ships are 2 weeks away." 2 weeks. Kate's voice was sharp with anger. They'd promised protection. The Defense Pact clearly states, "The Kreth are calling this a resource acquisition operation, not an invasion," James explained. "According to them, it doesn't trigger the Council's defense requirements." Kate looked around at the worried faces of her officers. They all knew what this meant. The Galactic Council had abandoned them. Earth was on its own. "Get me the Joint Chiefs," she ordered. "Emergency meeting in 5 minutes." In the underground war room beneath Geneva, Earth's military leaders gathered around a conference table. Screens on the walls showed the approaching Kreth fleet. "They'll reach the Neptune colony in 6 hours," General Tom Hayes said. "Our defenses there can hold for maybe 2 hours at most." "What about evacuation?" asked Admiral Rodriguez. "Started, but there's not enough time," Tom replied. "We're looking at thousands of casualties, minimum." Kate looked at the grim faces around the table. "We all know why we're here. We need to decide. Do we maintain the Treaty of Sol and watch our people die, or do we activate Project Threshold?" Silence fell over the room. Breaking the treaty would have serious consequences. The Council could expel Earth from the Alliance, impose harsh sanctions, or worse. Defense Minister Anna Lee spoke first. "What exactly do the Kreth want?" "Intelligence suggests they're after the helium-3 reserves in Neptune's atmosphere," Kate answered. "But this is more than a resource grab. It's a test. They want to see if the Council will defend us." "And the Council has failed that test," Tom said bitterly. Kate nodded. "We should assume we stand alone." The room was quiet as each person considered what was at stake. Earth's conventional forces, the ships that complied with treaty limits, were no match for a Kreth battle fleet. "How ready is Project Threshold?" asked Tom. Kate pulled up a secure file on her tablet. "The Vindicator is fully operational. The other 11 ships are in various stages of completion, but at least 8 can be combat-ready within hours." "Those ships violate every restriction in the treaty," Anna warned. "The Council will expel us." "Better expelled than extinct," Kate replied, her voice hard. The Joint Chiefs looked at each other, one by one. They nodded. "Let's vote," said Kate. "All in favor of activating Project Threshold." Every hand in the room went up. Kate took a deep breath. "Then it's decided. Send the authorization code to all hidden shipyards. Project Threshold is now active." Captain Jack Morgan was overseeing the final tests of the Vindicator's weapon systems when the alert came through. The massive ship, hidden inside the hollowed-out asteroid in the Arcturus belt, was nearly complete. At 950 meters long, with weapons that could tear through any known shields, it was exactly the kind of warship the treaty forbidden. Jack's communication officer ran up to him, holding a secure tablet. "Captain, priority message from Admiral Wilson." Jack took the tablet and read the message, his face growing serious. "Sound General Quarters. All personnel to battle stations. We're deploying immediately." His second-in-command, Maya Reed, looked shocked. "Sir, we're still running final tests on the main guns." "Tests are over," Jack said grimly. "The Kreth are attacking Neptune. The Council won't help. We're Earth's only hope." Throughout the secret shipyard, similar scenes played out as captains received their orders. Ships that had been disguised as station modules and orbital habitats revealed their true nature. Weapon systems powered up. Engines that had been hidden from Council inspectors for years roared to life. Within 1 hour, 12 ships, each far larger and more powerful than anything humans were supposed to have, broke free from their hiding places and jumped to faster-than-light speed. On Earth, Kate watched the holographic display with tense anticipation. The Kreth fleet had reached Neptune and started their attack. The colony's defenses were failing fast. "Ma'am," her aide said quietly, "the Vindicator and 7 other ships from Project Threshold have acknowledged the activation order. They'll reach Neptune in 40 minutes. Kate nodded. "What about the Council? Any response to our distress call?" "They've updated their estimate. Their ships won't arrive for 3 weeks now." Kate's jaw tightened. For 50 years, Earth had kept its part of the bargain. They had joined the Council, followed the rules, and trusted the promise of protection. Now, when they needed help most, that promise was broken. "Send a message to all Earth colonies and outposts," Kate ordered. "Code Phoenix." Repeat, Code Phoenix. Throughout human space, military commanders received the code and understood its meaning. The Treaty of Seoul was no longer in effect. All hidden weapons and ships were now authorized for use. For half a century, humanity had prepared for this day in secret. Hidden shipyards activated. Concealed weapon platforms powered up. Defense systems that had been disguised as scientific equipment revealed their true purpose. The Council will consider this a violation of the treaty, her aide warned. They violated it first when they abandoned us, Kate replied. Send one final message to the Council. Tell them Earth formally invokes Article 7 of the treaty, the right to self-defense when Council protection fails. Kate looked at the display showing the Kreth ships bombarding the Neptune colony. Nearly 5,000 humans lived there. Families, children, people who trusted their government to protect them. We're done being helpless, she said quietly. It's time the galaxy remembers why the Kreth invasion of Earth was the shortest in their history. In the darkness of space, Earth's forbidden fleet raced toward Neptune, about to reveal humanity's best-kept secret and change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The breaking point had come. There was no turning back now. Captain Jack Morgan stood on the bridge of the Vindicator, his eyes fixed on the main screen. The ship was no longer pretending to be a mining vessel. This was Earth's first true battleship since the Treaty of Seoul, nearly a kilometer long and armed with weapons that made the Council's restrictions seem like a joke. All systems ready, Captain, reported Maya Reed, now his executive officer. Her face was serious but calm. The other ships are in position. Jack nodded. Status of the Kreth fleet. They're still bombarding the Neptune colony, said the tactical officer Dan. They don't know we're here. 8 ships from Project Threshold had reached the Neptune system. They were hidden behind the planet's largest moon, Triton, waiting for Jack's order. 4 more ships would arrive within the hour. What about the colony? Jack asked. Main dome is holding, but they've lost 3 of 5 outer habitats. Maya said, her voice tight. Casualties are high, sir. Jack felt anger rising in his chest. The Neptune colony was home to almost 5,000 people, families who had built new lives on the edge of the solar system. Now they were paying the price for the Council's betrayal. Communications, patch me through to all ships, Jack ordered. Lisa, the communications officer, nodded. Channel open. Sir. Jack took a deep breath. This is Captain Morgan to all Earth vessels. For 50 years, we've lived under rules meant to keep us weak. Today, those rules end. The Kreth think they're facing outdated defense platforms and small patrol ships. They're about to learn how wrong they are. He paused, looking at the faces of his crew. They were ready. They'd trained for this moment for years. Our mission is simple: protect our people and show the galaxy that humanity will not be left defenseless. Battle Formation Alpha. Weapons free. Jack nodded to Lisa. Send. Throughout the small fleet, captains received the message and prepared their ships. These weren't random vessels thrown together in desperation. They were part of a careful plan, each ship designed to work with the others. All ships acknowledge, Captain, Lisa reported. They're ready. Jack sat in his command chair, his back straight. Helm, take us out. Full speed. The massive ships moved from behind Triton in perfect formation. On the tactical display, Jack could see the Kreth fleet, 30 vessels arranged in a standard attack pattern. They were still focused on bombarding the colony, not expecting any significant resistance. They'd spotted us, Dan reported as alerts flashed on his screen. They're confused, sir. They're trying to figure out what we are. Jack allowed himself a small smile. Let's help them understand. Target their command ship. Main guns only. The Vindicator's massive railguns locked onto the largest Kreth vessel. Each gun fired projectiles at a significant fraction of light speed, far more powerful than anything a Class 3 human ship could possess. Fire, Jack ordered. The ship shuddered slightly as the railguns fired. On the screen, they watched as the projectiles crossed the space between the ships in seconds. They slammed into the Kreth command ship, tearing through its shields like they weren't there. The Kreth vessel split apart in a silent explosion, debris scattering across space. Silence fell over the bridge as everyone stared at the screen in shock. Even Jack was surprised by the weapon's effectiveness. The Kreth ship, a dreadnought-class vessel that should have been able to withstand heavy fire, had been destroyed with a single volley. "All ships, engage targets," Jack said, breaking the silence. "Protect the colony at all costs." The battle that followed would be remembered throughout human space for generations. Earth's forbidden fleet moved with practiced precision, their weapons tearing through Kreth ships that had never expected to face such resistance. The Kreth tried to regroup, to form a defensive line, but they were caught out of position. 3 more of their ships exploded under concentrated fire from the human vessels. "Sir, 5 Kreth ships are breaking off," Maya reported. "They're heading for the colony. I think they're going to try to destroy it before retreating." Jack's eyes narrowed. "Not on my watch. Vindicator and Defiance, pursue those ships. All other vessels, continue engaging the main fleet." The Vindicator and its sister ship accelerated, cutting off the Kreth vessels before they could reach the damaged colony. "Target their engines," Jack ordered. "Disable them if possible." The human ships fired precisely, crippling 3 of the 5 Kreth vessels. The other 2 turned to fight, launching missiles toward the Vindicator. "Point defense systems," Jack called out. "Don't let anything through." Lasers flashed from the Vindicator's hull, destroying the incoming missiles. Then the human ships fired again, disabling the remaining Kreth vessels. Within 30 minutes, it was over. The Kreth fleet was in ruins, half destroyed, the rest disabled or retreating. Not a single human ship had been lost, though 3 had taken damage. "Colony status?" Jack asked as the last Kreth ship jumped away. "They're safe, Captain," Maya replied, relief in her voice. "Medical teams are already heading to the surface." Jack nodded, then turned to Lisa. "Open a channel. Broadcast on all frequencies." When she nodded, Jack stood up straight, looking directly at the camera. "This is Captain Jack Morgan of Earth Defense Force. To the Kreth Empire and the Galactic Council, hear this message. The attack on our Neptune colony has been stopped. Let it be known that any attack on human settlements will be met with this response." He paused, making sure his next words were clear. "For 50 years, we followed rules meant to keep us weak and vulnerable. That ends today. We will no longer be bound by restrictions that prevent us from protecting our people. Earth is under our protection now." As Jack finished his message, he knew it would reach not just the Kreth, but also the Council observers he was certain were watching from afar. The secret was out. Humanity had broken the treaty, and there was no going back. "Captain," Lisa said, her voice excited, "we're receiving messages from all human colonies. They're cheering, sir." Jack looked around at his crew. Many had tears in their eyes. For the first time in 50 years, humans throughout the solar system felt truly safe. "Sir," Maya said quietly, "what happens now? The Council won't let this go." Jack turned to look at the image of Neptune on the main screen, its blue surface peaceful after the violence that had just unfolded. "Now," he said, "we face the consequences of our choice. But we face them as equals, not as children to be controlled." The Vindicator turned toward the damaged colony, its massive shape silhouetted against Neptune's blue glow, a symbol of humanity's refusal to remain bound by chains they never deserved. Admiral Kate Wilson straightened her uniform as she prepared to enter the Galactic Council's main chamber. 2 weeks had passed since the battle at Neptune. 2 weeks of angry messages, threats, and demands from Council members. Now, Earth would face judgment. "Ready, Admiral?" asked General Tom Hayes, who stood beside her. Kate nodded, her face calm but determined. "As ready as I'll ever be to face a room full of angry aliens." They stood before massive doors decorated with symbols representing the 30 main species of the Council. The human symbol, added just 50 years ago, was the smallest. "Remember the plan," Kate said quietly. "We didn't break the treaty. We responded to its failure. We stand firm on that." The doors swung open, revealing a huge circular chamber. Raised platforms surrounded a central speaking area like a giant bowl. On each platform sat representatives from different species, most looking down at the humans with expressions ranging from anger to fear. Kate and Tom walked to the center of the room, their footsteps echoing. The Earth delegation, 5 humans in total, took their places at the small platform assigned to them. High Counselor Drell, a tall figure with iridescent scales covering his body, rose from his seat. As the oldest member of the council, he spoke first at all important meetings. "This emergency session will come to order," he said, his voice amplified throughout the chamber. "We are here to address Earth's violation of the Treaty of Soul." His large eyes fixed on Kate. "Admiral Wilson, you stand accused of authorizing the construction and use of warships far beyond the Class 3 limit specified in your treaty. These actions represent the most serious violation of Council law in over 3 centuries. Kate stepped forward, her back straight. "High Counselor, members of the Council, I do not deny that Earth has built ships beyond the treaty limits, but I reject the premise that we are the violators here." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Drell's scales flashed with colors that suggested anger. "Explain yourself, Admiral," he demanded. Kate activated a small device she had brought. A hologram appeared, showing the Kreth attack on Neptune, and the Council's messages refusing immediate help. "The Treaty of Soul included promises of protection," Kate said clearly. "When the Kreth attacked our colony, the Council failed to provide that protection. Your nearest ships were supposedly 2 weeks away, later updated to 3 weeks. She paused, looking around the chamber. Article 7 of the treaty clearly states that if Council protection fails, the protected species has the right to defend itself by any means necessary. "Those ships were built before the attack," shouted the Kreth representative, a stocky reptilian figure with a scar across his snout. "You were preparing to break the treaty all along." Kate turned to face him directly. "Our shipyards were inspected regularly by Council observers. If you found evidence of treaty violations, why wasn't it reported?" The chamber erupted in argument. Some Council members shouted accusations, while others demanded proof. High Counselor Drell raised his hands for silence. When the room quieted, he spoke again. "The timing of your shipbuilding is indeed suspicious, Admiral. How could you construct such vessels in the short time between the Kreth approach and the battle?" Kate smiled slightly. "I never claimed we built them in 2 weeks, High Counselor. We built them over 50 years, carefully, secretly, and always just beyond where your inspectors looked." More shouting filled the chamber. Kate stood calmly in the center, waiting for it to die down. "Why?" asked a quieter voice. It belonged to Counselor Marin, one of the few Council members who had supported human inclusion from the beginning. Unlike most Council species, hers looked almost human, except for her silver skin and large, all-black eyes. "Why build these ships in secret?" Marin asked again. "Why not petition the Council to remove the restrictions as other species have done?" Kate looked at her directly. "Because 12 other species petitioned for removal of similar restrictions in the last century. All were denied." She activated her device again, showing data on various Council decisions. The data shows a clear pattern. New species are restricted, supposedly temporarily, but those restrictions are never lifted, not when they prove themselves peaceful, not when they contribute to Council science and culture, not even when they face direct threats. Kate switched the display to show the battle at Neptune. These ships saved thousands of human lives, lives the Council was sworn to protect but abandoned. The chamber grew quieter as many Council members looked uncomfortable. "I move," said Counselor Marin into the silence, "that we examine the true purpose of these restrictions." All eyes turned to her, not for safety, as we have claimed, Marin continued, but from fear. The Kreth invasion of Earth 50 years ago was the shortest in their history, 3 days before humans drove them back with technology centuries behind their attackers. She looked around the chamber. We restricted them not because they were dangerous, but because we feared how dangerous they might become. The silence that followed was heavy with tension. Kate stepped forward again. The Treaty of Soul was designed to keep us vulnerable, not to protect the galaxy from us. When faced with the choice between honoring that treaty and watching our people die, we chose our people. High Counselor Drell's scales had shifted to a more subdued color. What would you have us do now, Admiral? Earth has revealed military capabilities that disturb many council members. Treat us as equals, Kate replied simply. Remove the restrictions that were never just. Allow us to defend ourselves and contribute to galactic security as full members, not as controlled children. And if we refuse? Asked Drell. Then Earth will protect itself, Kate said, her voice firm, but not threatening. We don't want to leave the Council. We value the knowledge, trade, and cooperation it provides. But we will not return to vulnerability. The Council chamber filled with whispers as members discussed among themselves. After several minutes, Drell spoke again. This matter requires careful consideration. The Council will recess for 3 days. During this time, all parties will refrain from military action. Kate nodded. Earth agrees to this recess. As the Earth delegation left the chamber, Tom leaned close to Kate. Do you think they'll expel us? Kate watched the council members filing out, many deep in conversation. I don't know, but something has changed. Did you see their faces when Marin spoke? Many of them know she's right. Outside the council station, Captain Jack Morgan waited with the Vindicator. The massive ship wasn't hiding anymore. It floated proudly next to the station, a visible reminder of humanity's newfound strength. What now, Admiral? Jack asked as Kate boarded. She looked back at the flower-shaped council station. Now we wait for their decision. But whatever happens, there's no going back to the way things were. For better or worse, the galaxy now sees what humanity can really do. The Vindicator powered up its engines, preparing to return to Earth. Whatever the Council decided, humanity would face it standing tall, no longer bound by chains they had never deserved. 1 year after the battle at Neptune, Captain Jack Morgan stood in the observation deck of Earth's orbital shipyard. Below him, the blue planet spun peacefully. Above, against the black of space, the newly built ship Reconciliation floated in its docking bay, preparing for its first journey. The Reconciliation was different from the warships of Project Threshold. It was bigger, for one thing, almost 2 kilometers long. But more importantly, it represented something new. The ship was built under the terms of the agreement that humanity had negotiated with the Galactic Council after 3 tense days of deliberation. No more artificial restrictions. No more pretending human ships were weaker than they were. Instead, Earth had agreed to integrate its designs and defense strategies into a joint protection force. Still can't believe they agreed to our terms, said a voice behind him. Jack turned to see Commander Maya Reed, now wearing the insignia of her new rank. A year ago, they'd fought side by side at Neptune. Now they were preparing for a very different mission. They didn't have much choice, Jack replied with a small smile. Once the other restricted species saw what we did, there were too many voices demanding change. That was the truth that had come out during the council meetings. Humans weren't the only species held back by temporary safety measures that somehow never expired. Half a dozen younger spacefaring races had been kept artificially weak through similar treaties. When Earth had broken free, the others had started asking uncomfortable questions. Do you think the older species have forgiven us yet? Maya asked, looking up at the massive ship. Forgiven? No, Jack answered honestly. But they respect us now, and that's more important. A door slid open, and Admiral Kate Wilson walked onto the observation deck. Her uniform had new insignia too. The symbols of the Joint Defense Command, a new division of the Council's peacekeeping forces. The Council representatives are boarding, she informed them, including the 3 new human council members. After the Treaty of Seoul had been officially dissolved, Earth had been granted 3 seats on the Council instead of 1, recognition of humanity's new status in galactic politics. "How are the Kreth taking it?" Jack asked. Kate's expression hardened slightly. "They're still protesting the new security arrangement, but they've backed down on their territory claims near Neptune. Having our ships patrolling that border seems to have changed their minds." Jack nodded, turning back to look at the reconciliation. The ship wasn't just a human achievement. It contained technology and designs from 6 different species, the beginning of a truly united defense force. "It's time," Kate said. "The ceremony starts in 30 minutes." As they walked toward the main airlock where they would board the ship, they passed by viewports showing the construction of more vessels. Some were warships, now built openly. Others were research vessels and diplomatic ships. All represented humanity's new place in the galaxy. "I heard some interesting news yesterday," Kate said as they walked. 3 more species have petitioned to have their treaty restrictions lifted. The Council is actually considering it. "Progress," Jack commented with satisfaction. The truth had changed everything. The older Council races had restricted newer species not for safety, but from fear of competition. Now that the system was exposed, it couldn't continue. They reached the main ceremony hall of the reconciliation where hundreds of people, humans and aliens alike, had gathered. At the center of the room stood a podium where the ship's captain would speak before their maiden voyage. "Captain Morgan," Kate said formally, "your ship awaits." Jack looked at her in surprise. "My ship?" Kate smiled. Rare for her, the Council and Earth government agreed. "You're being promoted to fleet captain, and the reconciliation is yours to command. Who better to lead this new beginning than the man who helped make it possible?" Jack felt a lump in his throat as Kate handed him the captain's insignia for the ship. "There's one more thing," Kate added. "The first mission. The reconciliation will be taking representatives from Earth and 5 other previously restricted species to establish a new defense outpost at the edge of Kreth space. A reminder that the old ways are over." As Jack took his place near the podium, he looked out at the gathered crowd. There were humans in their blue uniforms, tall Volari with their 4 arms, crystalline Tauri floating in their atmosphere suits, and many others. Even a few Kreth representatives stood at the back, their scaled faces unreadable. High Counselor Drell approached the podium. The old alien looked smaller somehow, less imposing than he had seemed in the council chamber a year ago. "1 year ago," Drell began, his voice carrying through the hall, "we faced a crisis of our own making. For too long, the Council had maintained a system that claimed to protect, but actually controlled. The humans showed us the flaw in that system." He paused, looking at Jack. "Some called it rebellion. I have come to see it as correction. The reconciliation represents our new path forward, genuine cooperation, not control." When it was Jack's turn to speak, he kept his words simple. "A year ago, we broke boundaries that had held us back. Today, we establish new boundaries, not walls to keep us apart, but frameworks to bring us together. The reconciliation is more than a ship. It's a promise that all species, old and new, have a right to protect themselves and a duty to protect each other." As applause filled the room, Jack looked out at Earth through the large viewports. From space, you couldn't see borders or divisions. Just one world, turning in the light of its sun. The old Council had thought they were containing a threat when they restricted human ships. They didn't realize they were creating something much more powerful, a species that refused to be bound by fear, and in breaking free, showed others they could do the same. Some species shouldn't be caged, not because they might escape, but because of what they might become when they do. As the reconciliation prepared to depart on its mission, Jack knew this wasn't just an ending to the old story. It was the beginning of something new. Humanity had taken its place among the stars, not as the newest member to be controlled, but as equals who had earned their right to sail the dark between worlds in ships of their own making. The limits were broken, and they would not be rebuilt.